You were listening to episode 188 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and John and me go to sea in today's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So this week we played a little bit of Burley Men at Sea on the, I guess technically the PlayStation 5, but it's on like a million other devices.
Yeah, I've been actually wanting to play this game for a long time, so it was nice to check out something small.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that, man.
Especially because we have so much else to talk about this week.
Yeah, I guess, dude, honestly, I felt it was a little light this week.
Xbox?
We're
not even really talking about like the Capcom or the other events that they did.
I get it, but like... It's Xbox. I mean, a lot of it's going to be on PC, right? So for me, I'm kind of looking at it in that lens of, okay, cool, I'll be able to play it on Game Pass or have the ability to play this, via PC regardless, right? So that's the way I looked at it. But, let's kind of look at what we're going to talk about. Of course, like you just mentioned, Xbox Bethesda Games Showcase, so we'll talk about that. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be a trilogy. No surprise. We already knew that was going to happen. But we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the other titles that were released, or not released, but announced. And then Activision investigates itself in an unsurprising find of no evidence of systematic harassment. I'm going to enjoy talking about that one. That's going to be good. But first, recent pickups and our games that we're currently playing. So I picked up the Ravenloft board game, which is D&D. And
it's huge.
Dude, it's actually not a bad deal when you can, all things considered, right? You have 40 unpainted minis that come with that game, dungeon tiles that also come with that game. The fact that it is a board game on top of all of that, and $40. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're getting 40 minis for $40. When you look at it in the grand scheme of things of minis and what you're purchasing when you get like a D&D set, it's usually about 4 minis for booster pack, and there's about 16 of them. So you get about 64 minis for about $400 to $500 sometimes.
Dang.
Or a little bit more than that. But yeah, it's crazy when you consider how many minis you are getting in this game box for $40 that you could, like, you got to paint it, obviously. They're not pre-painted minis, so there's a little time that comes with it. But they're minis. Yeah. You really consider just the minis alone are going to cost you $1 a piece. If I were to go get some of these minis loose, they'd be about $2, $3 a piece, with shipping needed to be added on top of that. So you're talking about $4 an average. That's like $160 in minis for $40.
Is there anything like especially good in there?
Yeah, there's like a zombie Dracolich, there's a zombie dragon, there's multiple ghouls, there's different like playable characters. You have Strahd is in there.
Oh, cool.
So there's actually some pretty cool minis that are in there. Of course, I got to paint them, but, I can go about playing the game without painting too.
Yeah.
So pick that up. I got the 2 monitors hooked up, which look great. I am having to do an exchange or return on one of them. So the latch on the back, because they kind of like slot in, and whenever I try to adjust this one on the left, it doesn't want to like stay. It just pops out. For like the latch just doesn't hold. So I went ahead and bought another one and then have this one for return. That's what they suggested I do, because otherwise, if you do an exchange, you have to return it to Newegg, and then it takes like 3 to 4 days to get there to begin with.
And then they process one out.
And then so I'm looking at like 2 to 3 weeks, regardless of getting a new monitor. So they said, you know what, we'll do a standard return. Go buy a new one since it's on a Newegg credit card. No big deal. It'll redo your form of payment. We'll send that new one out your way, and then whenever that comes in, swap it out and send us, because you've already printed out the shipping label. Yeah. So it says I'll be getting the new one by next week, and so I will just go ahead and send it, new shipping label, or the shipping label I have, I'll send in the old monitor and get that all worked out. But that was kind of disappointing. Like, it's a kind of a no-name brand, but like the quality is not too bad. The speakers, it's an Idea display. So I could have gone with like MSI, but MSI had like 144 hertz for the refresh rate, and I ended up getting like 175 on this one, which was pretty decent. The speakers are built in on this. This has 2 display ports and 2 HDMI per system, plus an audio jack. So if I want to do some sort of external audio, which I do with this setup, I can do that. Whereas with the MSI one, while the contrast ratio is 3,000 to 1 compared to 1,000 to 1 on these, I'm getting the same size screen. I'm getting speakers that from the out of box, even though they're not the best, I have speakers. I have more ports that I can put my stuff into, which is nice. So I'm going to be running display ports once I get the new GPU on both my work laptop and my standard desktop. And then I'll have HDMIs for my video game setups that we have here. So, I mean, we're talking essentially 4 HDMIs that we're going to have available for multiple screens, which will be kind of nice. So that's how that's panning out right now. As far as other pickups, I have some orders coming in from GameStop. I got Mario Super Smash Tennis on the Wii U because it was like $17, and then, which I'm surprised GameStop had that. I'm gonna guess it doesn't have a case, but I have that coming in, and then Medium as well, the game that was showcased, I guess, a couple years back as being like a big Xbox thing. I guess it's out on PS5 as well, nice. And it has a full DualSense support apparently, so that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that one was like $18. But I had a $5 gift card through GameStop online, and then I had like 26,000 points, so I ended up getting a $15 gift card and knocked 20 off of all of it. So I'm getting both those for about $25. So it's pretty cool. So I'm excited for Medium and seeing how that's going to turn out. As far as currently playing is concerned, Elden Ring, you saw what I'm doing. I'm level 41. I beat multiple bosses, so I beat Godric for sure. And then I got stuck on the wolf boss. I forget what the name is, like Red something. I forget the name of the boss. But I went through the arcane school, essentially. And was going through there, cleared out everything, got to the boss, and I'm just at a point where
he's tough.
He's tough. I got to level up. I was figuring, well, let me get the Moonveil Katana. Well, it's not going to help me because of the level I'm at and where my arcane and intelligence are. There's no way I'm going to be able to use that anyway. So I'm using, seriously, an Uchigana +3, which is not the best. And I don't want to waste more smithing stones on that.
The Moonveil uses the somber smithing stones. They're the special ones, not the regular smithing stones.
Okay, cool. So maybe I should upgrade my...
and also, like, if you really are worried about it, like, later on, you can go hunt for items that allow you to just buy low-level smithing stones.
Oh, okay, cool. So
yeah, you're not going to get to the point where you're going to dump stuff in there that you're going to miss late game.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. So what's interesting is every single boss I've faced so far, I have not been able to summon anybody in at all. The first boss, so Godric, when I faced him, actually, I lied. So the first boss, when you're going up to Stormveil, I forget who it was, but... beat him with somebody. That was pretty quick. I probably could have beat on my own. I took him down half-life. When I faced Godric, took him down half-life on my own, found out I could get NPC, got the NPC, came in with my wolves and her, and knocked it out like second or third try, right? Yeah. But other than that, I have not been able to summon anybody in for a boss. I can go into other people's games and play with them and farm souls, but I cannot get anybody into my game for some reason.
Is there like an item you need to use or something?
I don't know. Like there's a specific item that allows you to see summon signs of different players, and I've used that and nobody pops up. I've looked at my settings. All my settings are fine for people to come into my game. There's no signs left for me to do anything.
I don't know.
It's the weirdest thing. So I'm going to have to look into that further, or it's just going to end up being like Demon Souls for me all over again. Whereas with Demon Souls, I soloed it. And I mean, it's so much more difficult, but that's fine because I'm just going to grind out levels, explore, have some fun with it. I've got the Wars of Ash or whatever that I can utilize. So it's kind of, or Ashes of War. And then some NPCs here and there, but like the magma worm, for example, for the Moonveil, dude, it's like damn near impossible. I got like a third of its health off by myself, but you know, I was a lower level when I started playing that one, probably about 3 or 4 levels, but still, man, it's difficult. And then the wolf guy, I could probably get like a quarter of his health off before he knocks me out because he's so fast.
Yeah,
he's fast, and then you're dealing with like the blue beams coming at you, basically magic missiles for the most part. Yeah. And then on top of that, like the main like heavy one that comes your way, and he's jumping on you and running around and slashing. It's insane how much this guy does. But I did go into those catacombs and I got that like Nether Spirit Ashes of War, which is like 100 FP. So I'm going to utilize him since it's an actual physical like being in a sense. I'll utilize that one and see how that goes. And then I also finished the castle that was down south that had been like overrun by whatever had been overrun. And I went ahead and knocked all of that out and defeated everything.
Humans or whatever.
Yeah, I cleared it all out. So, dude, that was so easy. I beat the boss on my second try.
It's supposed to be like an earlier thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I leveled up so high that like the shadow guy, for example, I went in and beat him on my first try because
Yeah.
I'm dealing like 200 or 300 damage. Like by the time I look, 4 slashes, he's like a quarter of his health off. So that's kind of where that went. But so Elden Ring is pretty fun. The only qualm I have about this right now is that the open world nature of it really does get you lost, and it's not as streamlined, I guess, as other Souls games when it comes to story and whatnot. It's just not super concise. So it's cool. Like I get the whole gist of it, you know, if trying to brandish the Elden Ring and you're trying to help the world of, you know, getting rid of all these demigods and whatnot. Like I get it, but it's just not as compelling as like Sekiro, which was phenomenal from a storytelling perspective. That is by far the best one. So that's been pretty cool. My wife and I started playing Shadow of the Colossus. So she gave up on Bloodborne, and she's like, I want to play it, but at the same time, I don't. And that's fine. We got past the first boss in Bloodborne, and she was like, no, it's just not for me right now. Like, I don't want to stress out about it. So she decided we were going to play Shadow of Colossus, and we are 8 Colossus in on the game, so about halfway through, which has been pretty fun. She's enjoying it. And then I have to decide what my next game is going to be for us to play as a couple. And what else did I play? I played some Apex Legends this week, which has been good. And of course, we played and kind of beat Burley Men at Sea. So it's been a very good gaming week, I would say. What about yourself?
Light gaming week for me. I downloaded TMNT Shredder's Revenge on Game Pass, and I played the first level, and I must say it looks as good as, or it is as good as it looked.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. I will definitely go back and play some more of that. I'm not a big beat-em-up guy, but I do like me some Turtles on occasion, and this is like a fun blast from the past. And the controls seem, fine. I'm not great at these kinds of games, so like I definitely got my ass beat a little bit on the first level. But I'm looking forward to trying the different characters and seeing what's different. And I think you could like level them up and stuff. Like I did get like an extra health point or something in the first level, so I'll be interested to see how much changes or grows in the game as you go.
Yeah.
I've been playing a little bit more Paper Mario. People may have seen on Twitter I found out how to hook an Xbox controller up to my phone. You just turn the Bluetooth on and it just works.
That's
and
cool.
Then when I go into my emulator, it just works. So I could just all of a sudden have a much better experience. Trying to play Paper Mario on like touchscreen controls with like trying to like waggle the thumbstick left repeatedly over and over quickly is just not something you can really do. And then of course playing more Point B. Anybody out there who has Netflix and a phone, get yourself some Point B, make some juice. It's fun.
So I was reading they've had like 15 million downloads or something since they started doing the games.
Mm-hmm.
Just not too bad actually when you consider, so it's going to be successful. I think we talked about it last week, and not going to dive in this week, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. So catch that episode. Anything else, man?
That's it. Light week for me.
Cool.
Watching all the gaming presentations and stuff was fun though, and listening to all the reactions.
Yeah. All right, well, before we start, you can find us on the GameDeflators.com, our out-of-date website. You can find us on Twitter at Game Deflators or on Instagram and Facebook at The Game Deflators. Catch us on the podcast app you are listening to right now or another if you fancy. And, of course, you can leave us a 5-star review on any of those podcast apps. Helps us out a lot. All right. Next thing we got here, or first thing we're going to discuss here, is the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase of 2022. And everything that was announced and revealed. We probably won't go over everything because it's a huge list. But Ryan, you kick it off because, this is kind of more in your wheelhouse nowadays than it is mine.
Yeah, so that's kind of what my whole basis of being super happy about all this is that I actually have an Xbox now, and I get to take advantage of all of this great stuff coming out in the next 12 months, which I think was a really good way to approach the show. So much gameplay footage. All of these games are going to be out in the next year, barring any unforeseen circumstances, but really impressive in my mind. Opening up the show was Redfall, which we didn't really know a whole lot about before this. It was a big cinematic trailer, but now we've got some actual in-game footage, and, I'm into it. I really like Arcane Studios. I haven't played Dishonored, so I'm not so, it's not like a stealth game. I know people wish it was like another big stealth game. But I did really like Prey, and I know that this isn't going to quite be the same as Prey. It's not going to have that same kind of immersive sim kind of experience, but I'm into it. I think it looks good. I'm totally ready to give that one a shot. Single player or multiplayer, so that's good.
Well, I played Dishonored and I loved it. I didn't beat it because my PlayStation actually died when I was in the middle of playing that one. I think it was PS3 it came out on, correct? Yeah. So came out on PS3 and my PS3 had died. It was during that period of time where I was playing both God of War 3 and Dishonored, and it just never picked it back up. But it's on PS4 as well, so I need to pick that up.
Game Pass.
It is on Game Pass. So I like the idea of being able to MacGyver different weapons to kill vampires. Like that.
Yeah.
That in itself is a really cool aspect. I love that about certain games is when you can kind of finagle different weapons together to do things for you. Obviously, there's limitations in the amount of things you can do, like there would be any game. But if that's like a key component, dude, I'm all for playing this game in some manner.
Well, they have a history like in Prey with the like glue gun that you could use to make like scalable staircases on walls and stuff. Like multi-purposing items in their games is something that they definitely have like a big history with doing. So I would hope they take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Next up was Hollow Knight Silksong. Yes. Oh my God. Everybody's been dying for this announcement. Everybody's been thinking it's going to be a Nintendo owned announcement, but it's showing up on Game Pass. Boom. Couldn't be happier. I'm dying to play this one, and the fact that it's not going to cost me anything extra, even better.
Imagine paying money just to be able to be the first one to show a trailer.
Right?
Like, that's kind of insane, the way that this is working out. I mean, there's a lot of games on here. I mean, it was kind of like that for Medium. We had seen that on one of the Xbox showcases, I guess a couple of years ago, or just before it came out. And it was multi-platform, right? And like, this is obviously one of those situations where we're going to be playing this most likely on our Switch. Well, you'll play it on Xbox.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it on Switch.
I played the first one on Switch, and it was the only game on Switch that I predominantly played on the TV and not in portable mode. And the music in that game is so good, and I really felt like in the world, it was like a really good Metroidvania. So this one will be awesome.
It's one I still got to play, but I've got it still sealed.
Next up, High on Life. This looks crazy. Justin Roiland is so good, and I love me some Rick and Morty. I do kind of feel what I've heard some people say, like everything just sounds the same. Like he just does the Morty voice all the time for everything. And it's not that it's bad. It's just all I can think of is Rick and Morty. And I mean, the fact that this is basically something that could just coexist with Rick and Morty makes it fair. But this will be really, really interesting. A bunch of top tier voice acting talent playing sentient alien guns and knives as you murder your way through the universe.
Well, yeah, and essentially the concept of this game is that the people are drugs, right? For this particular game.
I don't remember. They said something about that in the beginning of the trailer. I just remember all the guns talking.
Yeah, so like essentially they farm humans as drugs for this one is what I recall hearing. And the different the guns are basically different creatures. I forget the name of the creature specifically or of that race.
I think they were called like Wepalians or something.
I don't remember. That. But I mean, all of them have different voices, and you fire them as guns, and that in itself is crazy. I mean, like you said, this whole thing is what would essentially be a world of Rick and Morty. It's just you don't have Rick and Morty, which is in a way kind of disappointing. Like you almost want it to be a Rick and Morty only game with the voice acting, and then have the craziness of all these creatures and everything else, and exploring this like vast world. Like I would almost want that versus a title with Rick and Morty voices.
Yeah.
So that was my thing on that, but it looks interesting.
Next up, this one's huge, and this one is going to be more of a niche thing. But, I mean, as far as niches, it is like one of the biggest audiences, so I don't know how niche it is. But Xbox teaming up with Riot Games to provide, benefits to all of their different game platform, all of their different games if you have Game Pass membership. So you'll be able to unlock just every League character. And I don't know, John, you've never played League, right? So the way it works is, or the way it worked back when I played, back in my day, like 10 years ago, you would have like a certain pool of characters that was available every week, and it rotated. And there were some characters that would be in there longer and some that would only be in shorter. And like when a new character came out, they might be free for the first week, but that kept rotating. And you can play forever and unlock characters, or you can pay money to unlock characters. This just gets you everything.
Yeah.
This is like hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours worth of free, like, in-your-face content now that you just have access to. And it's on Valorant, it's on League, it's on, I think, Wild Rift is the mobile game for League. So this is probably one of the bigger actual value brings to, like, a huge audience, you know, if you're into those games. So good on you for that win.
Next one that I saw that was really interesting was Plague Tale Requiem. Look, I played the first Plague Tale, absolutely loved it, and I am totally stoked for a next-gen Plague Tale. So if you haven't played that one, definitely check it out. You have the ability to, well, not the ability to until towards another point, but you have your torch and whatnot, and you're trying to navigate your way through essentially plague rats and all this other craziness that's tied to it within this, like, essentially medieval type world where they're trying to capture your brother and you're trying to protect him the entire way through, and it's just like the church basically chasing you down, and it's a lot of stealth, a lot of kind of puzzle in a sense, because you're trying to navigate your way through without getting spotted or running away from said people. So I enjoyed it. It was great storytelling, great music, great visuals, great acting that was tied to it. So highly recommend it. I'm totally stoked for the next one here.
It kind of has that same vibe for me, like, of Senua, where it's like not like a big huge studio, but they put out this, like, really, really impressive first game that was like a smash hit, and people, like, were like, whoa. And now it's, you know, this big anticipated sequel coming out, and it's like probably going to capture a much bigger audience, be a much more ambitious title. And to see those studios get that kind of opportunity to step up and be, like, in the forefront here. Like, we didn't see Senua shown here, unfortunately, but, you know, to see this coming in the next year, it's definitely going to fill that hole for some people.
Yeah, for sure. And dude, just on the note of Senua, like, that's another one I'm totally stoked for, and I'm so disappointed that it's an Xbox exclusive or also PC as well.
Yeah.
Just because they ended up buying, I think it was Team Ninja is one that did that one. But yeah, I mean, it's also kind of cool to have played those games before they, like, spiked in popularity, right?
Yeah.
They were cool. They had great visuals, but they're not one that folks were like, oh yeah, I need to get my hands on Senua. I need to get my hands on Plague Tale. They were more like under the radar hit titles.
Yeah.
That kind of gained a quick cult following, and now it's, like you said, just this, oh crap, like, this is actually a really good game. We need a second one, and people are excited. So,
Scorn. Scorn looks so creepy, and it might even be too much for me. But hey, that's where Game Pass comes in.
dude, there are so many games that are just, like, creepy and horror and zombie and, like, all this other crazy stuff that are coming out. Like, we saw it with Sony. We're seeing some of it here with Microsoft. It's going to be a very crazy next couple of years with, like, horror-based games.
Lots of sci-fi horror. I like it.
The one I like, I don't know if you had this one on your list, but Flintlock looked actually pretty cool. Third-person RPG, and you wield guns and melee weapons, and it'll be coming out early 2023. I don't know. I didn't see if this was specifically, like, Xbox exclusive or not. But if it is, or if it's, you know, Xbox Studios exclusive, then it'll probably be one I look at for PC. But that'll look very interesting.
Yeah. No, that one didn't really catch me. I was kind of interested in Pentiment by Obsidian.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the art style looks really good. I don't know if it's going to be, like, a game that's necessarily up my alley, actually. But, you know, Obsidian makes some good games, and it was interesting. I can't remember who I heard talking about it, but somebody was saying that, you know, they're getting this kind of opportunity because Xbox and Microsoft try to be hands-off with the studios that they purchased, which, you know, sometimes has its benefits and sometimes has its detriments. But it's allowed Obsidian to, you know, do Grounded and do Pentiment and not just be like, all right, we own you. Get to work on a new Fallout. You know, like, they can kind of spread their wings and do a few other things. And, like, now over the next couple of years, we're going to start to see all of this really start to come out where, you know, it's like this is all going to be in the next 12 months. So next summer, they show another showcase. It's going to be the next 12 months. And, you know, I think that if they could keep that up and keep us steadily dripped with actual titles coming out and get away from, you know, Todd Howard mentioned Fallout 5 this week, which is going to come after after the next Elder Scrolls, which Starfield isn't even out yet. So, he's talking about a game that's going to come out when we're like almost 40.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Thank God they're not showing a splash trailer for that here now, and hopefully not next year either.
I haven't even played Fallout 4 yet. That's how bad it is. But another one that caught my eye was Lightyear Frontier. I'm all for exploration type games, and I don't know if we hear that on the podcast, but we got thunder. So
Deep Thunder.
Deep Thunder. Dude, that's like the first rain we've had in like 6 months.
Yeah.
So Lightyear Frontier looked pretty cool. But yeah, exploration farming game, kind of like Stardew Valley, but like next gen mechanical and whatnot. And those are the types of games I like, dude. Like casual games where I could sit back and I can just build things, right, and make things my own. Like I love those type of games. And then one other, because I think you had skipped over this one, Last Case of Benedict Fox, Metroidvania style game with gothic art, and it looks badass, dude. Like Metroidvanias in general look cool, but this one, it was solid. Like there's a lot of slashing, a lot of gore that comes with it in that Metroidvania, side-scrolling style, and it's one for me to look out for moving
I think
forward.
I need to go back and take a second look at that trailer because, you're not the first person I've heard mention positive things about it, and I just don't remember being that impressed with it. So I'll go back and watch that one again.
Yeah, that one looks solid for sure.
I'm really on the fence about Diablo 4, and, with everything that just happened with Diablo Immortal and what a kind of ripoff that kind of is, and the fact that they're just reusing old classes. Like they're not really making anything like that looks crazy new. Like the graphics look incredible, and I'm sure this game's going to be really awesome. And I really had a lot of fun with Diablo 3, so I will play this game at some point, I'm sure. But just with everything that's going on with Activision Blizzard, and like we'll talk about that even a little bit more a little later on. But I want to wait for Bobby Kotick to be gone before I pick that game up, because like you really do, vote with your pocketbook, and I don't see myself wanting to go and buy anything from them right now.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to skip over any of yours, but Cocoon. Yeah, that had my interest for sure. I love me some puzzle games, and it's by the guy that made Inside and Limbo, which were also
one of them.
Well, one of the guys, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? That was a badass title. I enjoyed the way that title went. I played both of those and truly liked them. So Cocoon it's obviously a little different, but the puzzle atmosphere is something that I really enjoy, and it's on this like alien planet as well. So, I think there's going to be some nice twists and turns that are tied to this, and graphically it looked nice. Gameplay wise,
inside of the orbs and stuff was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gameplay itself looked pretty smooth, so it's definitely one to keep an eye on as well. I don't know if I skipped over any yours because there was a couple there before.
No. Let's see. Next up, Wolong.
It looked interesting. I thought I saw a preview for that a long time ago, though. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong and it was something else. Some of these games start to look the same, after a while. Persona announcement was pretty interesting for that to be coming out on Xbox. I'm actually kind of surprised.
Yeah, I can't wait not to finish that one.
Yeah.
That's going to be great, though, to have those all available and on PC. Like, people keep saying, like, I can't believe you're going to be able to play Persona, on Steam Deck before you can play it on Switch.
Yeah. It's kind of disappointing. They always
play it on your phone. I'll be able to play I'll be able to not play Persona through the cloud every day.
Yeah, exactly. And then tell us that you're going to beat it, but you never do. The thing that's disappointing is that they always start with Persona 3. I wish it would add 1 and 2 to this, because 1 and 2 are like astronomical right now in price on the PS1. Like I've got number 2, but I think I got number 2 or number 1. And it's like $300 or $400 last I checked.
Yeah.
It's like insane. Why do I want to, maybe because it's a different style. So I think back then it wasn't that same like narrative storytelling. I don't know. It's not a series. Yeah, it's not a series I really dove into. And the biggest announcement, right? Hideo Kojima and Xbox partnership. So it looks like he'll be doing something with Xbox Studios. They must have thrown that guy a boatload of money to do that.
Well, I think that he wants to use their cloud system to do something really crazy, and they're just the game in town to do it. So, I mean, he's an independent dev, and, you know, he's letting everybody know that he's not married to PlayStation, so...
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You know, the fact that he's working with Xbox Studios, apparently, but, you know, he does... That's what's interesting, right? He's got his own studio. So, I'm just questioning, like, is this I want to partner with you on this, but it's going to go to other consoles? Or is it, hey, you paid me a boatload of money and it's going to stay exclusive to Xbox? We didn't even see a trailer.
If it's going to be based off of Xbox's like cloud architecture, like I don't know that that'll necessarily translate to how PlayStation's is set up to work.
I want to say Sony uses Xbox cloud architecture, don't they?
I don't know.
I got to look back into that one. That was a conversation
what is it, like
a long time ago.
Azure or something?
Yeah, they use Azure. And then you have like Amazon uses AWS for like Amazon Web Services. I think that's their cloud setup. That's a little bit out of my realm of expertise in that area.
Don't listen to us.
Yeah, don't listen to us on that.
Well, listen to us, and when you do listen to us, leave us 5 stars.
Exactly. Just don't comment on this. But yeah, so it was just funny that the whole thing was just like, I'm going to make a game, and I'm going to make it with Xbox Studios.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2027, Kojima.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, they said, this is coming out in the next 12 months. There's nothing there, it's not going to come out in 12 months.
I guess that was the one big exception.
Yeah, right? The next one is Starfield, though.
Yeah, lastly, we've got Starfield. And Starfield is not really something that I was sold on at all until I saw the gameplay footage. Because... I don't know, it just, all the reporting and stuff that we've seen and the rumors we've talked about and like the leaks and stuff, like it just hasn't seemed like it was really going to come together. But honestly, seeing it now, it looks like it's come together just as well as any other Bethesda venture. So I'm sure it'll probably be, you know, fine and then get better over the next couple of years like they all do. But honestly, you know, as much as I didn't get super into Fallout 4... I have really gotten lost in a lot of these games. And I mean, I've come back to Skyrim so many times. Like, to just go into space and do something different that doesn't have all the same things. Like, I feel like Fallout 4 didn't catch me as much because I'd just been so inundated with Fallout. And it was just like, okay, this is just, you know, a lot of the same Fallout stuff again. So to get away from those familiar tropes, and put a different skin on it, I think will be refreshing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of the same, right? We're going to have technical glitches and bugs and everything else, I still feel. And, you know, how big is too big in this game? Because they're talking, 1,000 planets or something like that?
Most of them... So, I heard somebody put this in a really good light. So, I think that they understand that most planets are going to be barren wastes of space. But because there's, like, the, you know, mining of, like, minerals and stuff... Like, what if there was, like, you're flying from one planet to another planet, and something happens to your ship, like, in the middle, and you have to make, like, an emergency landing, and then you have to, like, go explore the planet to try to get, like, you know, materials to fix your ship or something. Like, if there's no cities or NPCs on that planet, like, that's fine. You're just stopping by for some nickel and iron.
Yeah, I guess it's just when you consider that still has to be developed in some capacity, right? So
just procedurally generated.
But it has to be usable. Like, you have to be able to play on that planet because there's going to be people wanting to explore, right? So yeah, it could be like a small planet's a barren wasteland, but you still got to develop all that. You still got to make it happen. And we're talking 1,000 of those planets, and they're talking about getting this out in the next 12 months. I mean, it's been in development for some time, obviously, but we've seen Bethesda over the years, and I'm just questioning, like, I mean, know
No Man's Sky has billions of planets.
It does, but it's not Bethesda.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, you know, that's what kind of worries me is they're at the helm of this thing, and how is it going to turn out? You know, I want to play Starfield. It looks badass, but I do kind of have my reservations with this being the developer behind it. So, all right. I guess that would be it for that showcase. Let us know what you think and what you thought your favorite title was out of all of that.
They did some like extended gameplay footage and stuff a few days later. I kind of missed that one though.
Yeah, I didn't watch. I mean, I watched multiple like highlights essentially, which is pretty cool. I didn't go in, like, it was a 2-hour show, man. Like, no way am I going to watch all 2 hours. So I found like a 20-minute thing of just like where they cut out all of the BS in between and just showed trailers, which is kind of nice. But that particular piece was covered by Kevin Lee at IGN. Yeah, so that was what we referenced there. All right. Final Fantasy VII Remake will be a trilogy. This is Zach Sweezen at Kotaku. And, surprise, surprise, it's a trilogy, right? Like, we already knew this.
Everything's a trilogy. Like, nobody makes just two things
But
anymore.
we knew it was going to be a trilogy. I mean, I think what it was...
3 discs in the original game should translate to 3 full games.
It should, right? And so I think we all kind of knew that, but I guess the news here is that they finally confirmed it.
Yeah.
Like, they hadn't confirmed it up until this point, which is
for
the
next
oddest
winter.
thing. Yeah. Well, wait, next winter? Not this winter?
Winter 23.
Oh, my God. Seriously, dude? You know what it is? It's because
I thought this would for sure be like 2025. I had no way in my mind thought that this was going to come out next year because like Final Fantasy 16 still isn't out yet. So how have they had time to do this? Plus they showed off the like Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer a few months ago. Like that's a lot of irons in the fire.
Well, and they're basically making Final Fantasy VII into Kingdom Hearts 2.0. Essentially, like just the amount, like okay, so Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, so basically redoing a remake of a prequel of that. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is coming out this winter on PS4, PS5, and all the Xbox consoles and PC. You had Rebirth is I think the remake, essentially. So that's part 2
Rebirth is the sequel to Remake.
You had you had Ever Crisis, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
That's like the mobile port of Final Fantasy VII, but like updated in a lot of ways.
And then there was like Final Fantasy VII First Class, I think.
First Soldier. Yeah. That's like a battle royale Final Fantasy game that's supposed to be pretty interesting.
But like, think about it though. Like, we have been dying for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, now called Rebirth. We've been wanting this game. The game's been out.
When did it come out?
The first remake, I think, came out 2 years ago. So you'd figure 2 years to develop this thing, and they announced.
This is Square.
I know.
Final Fantasy versus 13.
That's true, and Final Fantasy 14 came out, or 15 came out like 10 years after the fact. Yeah,
this is Square.
Like, I get it, but people have been clamoring for this for so long. Same thing with Kingdom Hearts, and they just like bide their time. And
they did Integrate, which came out like last year,
which wasn't very good apparently.
I don't know.
I heard it wasn't that great. But see, they're giving us like, did we ask for Crisis Core a new one? Not really. Nobody was talking about a remake.
Crisis Core is like,
it's a prequel.
Supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah,
but it's like trapped on the PSP.
Yeah, and I get that. So like, that's fine. I mean, if you want to remake it, but like, why do we have the battle royale and a mobile game and all these? They're just milking it.
Yeah.
And are that many people going to play it? Maybe. Who knows? But like, the big money maker there is the remake. And getting that out with your special edition versions and multiple consoles and everything else, like put that out, as soon as possible, and then supplement it with these other things afterwards. Like, they just continue to bide their time. It drives me crazy. And this is anticipated winter 2023. This is not including a delay, which honestly we'll probably see spring 2024.
Because there's a bunch of other stuff they're working on too, like Live Alive. The 2.5D, I think that's them. Yeah. And then there's like heavy rumors for like a 2.5D pixel art for the or the HD pixel art for Final Fantasy VI remake or something. Hopefully, I don't know. They try to do a lot, and a lot of it just doesn't
hit.
They were not the first one to do it in like the last couple of weeks, but they had kind of like that sizzle reel at the part where they just showed like merchandise that they're going to come out with, like a clock and some figures. The clock looked kind of cool, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford that or beat all the bots to the buy button.
I mean, that's assuming people even want it.
Yeah.
You'll have people that want it, but like, in that type of those droves of folks. Okay, let's see.
Was this also where they talked about Dragon's Dogma? And then they like were like, oh wait, no, we're actually going to talk about Dragon's Dogma like in 2 days?
I don't know. I didn't catch that. I just watched the trailers.
I think that might have been at Capcom, not Square.
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to that.
I'm making a fool of myself. Continue.
You're confusing me too. All right. So next one is Activision investigates itself and unsurprisingly finds no evidence of systematic harassment. This is Cal Jeffrey at TechSpot.
Oh my god,
dude. So let me find You know what? You didn't actually include it here. No, you did not include the article, at least on Discord. So I'm going to look that up really quick. But the first one, I remember what it is now. So there's a comment on there. Somebody tweeted that was, I have found no evidence, despite the crumbs on my face, that the cookie was eaten by me.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what it was in the gist. And yeah, so they did an internal investigation and determined that there was no evidence of the systematic harassment. Yeah,
I mean,
I wonder what happened if a third party came in and did the investigation process. What would happen?
Yeah, like if so many people have complained and like the news has gotten out there and the state of California has gotten involved, nobody's going to take you at your word when you just say, "Hey, look, we got it. Nothing really even happened here. It's all fine." You know, it's exactly like I was saying earlier. Like, I just don't feel like I can give my money to, you know, any of these type of projects anymore at this time, because it's just not worth it. I'm not that interested enough to, you know, just let that kind of happen and go unaddressed. And it's unfortunate that, you know, so much goodwill in the game industry is kind of misaligned with the company. You know, people really get behind and champion like these companies, even though the companies are, you know, evil, soulless, money-sucking corporations. Like, you should really be championing the people at the companies. And that's why these companies are having hard times, like, with hiring right now. Talent is like a major leak in the industry, because a lot of these studios are coming up together and being like, hey, you know, we can do this better ourselves, or, you know, we can, with a small team, make really good things happen nowadays. And, you know, they kind of go out, do their thing, and then they get bought up by bigger companies again, it seems like nowadays. But, like, something's got to change somewhere. Like, all of this needs to have some kind of, you know, internal restructuring. You know, we've seen some union stuff start to pop up at, like, what was it, Raven something Studios?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, the people in these jobs deserve to be able to go to work and feel good about themselves and their jobs, and not, you know, be like harassed at work.
Well, so here's a few pieces. So the committee admitted that there were some substantiated instances of gender harassment, found no evidence supporting the conclusion that senior leadership or board tolerated or were even aware of the behavior. How would you not be aware of that behavior unless you purposefully ignored it?
You tell all your yes men not to tell you about the problem, so you don't have to lie to the board.
Yeah, and it just doesn't climb. And then here's that tweet. It said, having conducted a thorough investigation of myself, I have determined that the cookies ate themselves. The crumbs found on my face and hands could have been from any number of cookie-like substances that were not in fact cookies. So that was good. And then just kind of looking at the comments, they're all like hilarious comments, dude, because it's hilarious. I mean, when you think about it, the first one is Activision and Bobby Kotick would never lie to people. Like, and then let's see, another one. Somebody said shocker, doubtful, not sure of your point yoga pants are form hugging. So no, that's something else. No, actually it is a comment. It goes into yoga pants. It says you have never been able to pat women on the derriere in modern history. So interesting, it said derriere. Plus a lawsuit would only be big if no action taken by the company or systematic. So they dive into it. Like, there's all these crazy comments in this article in particular, but the one thing that's also interesting is that they've settled $18 million the state of California, as you had mentioned, through this whole legal battle. You don't just settle if you're not guilty of any wrongdoing. And so it like all their investigation, like I get it, all their investigation, it would say, oh, leadership didn't know.
This is all just for shareholders, I'm sure, because nobody else in the world is going to believe this. Like, I don't even know if the shareholders will believe it, but if this allows them to just keep making money, I'm sure they're happy to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen either, because they don't care either. They're just there for the money. They don't care what Activision Blizzard does. They don't even care that they make video games. They're just there as a source of funds.
Well, you know, regardless I think Kotick needs to go anyways.
Yeah,
right.
He's
Like
going to be
if,
gone. He's
if
going to
you're
be redundant and not keep his job.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're the CEO of an organization and there are allegations of things like this that are occurring, and then an internal process says, "Oh, well, senior leadership didn't know," like, that's bullshit. Like, how does senior leadership not know that type of stuff's going on?
Yeah.
Like, they know what's going on, 100%. Like, there's things that, yeah, you can hide, but if you have people vocally saying, hey, this is an issue in the workplace, they're going to HR, well, then things aren't funneling the way they should. And I guess, there's the chance that leadership doesn't know based on that, but, like, that many people not doing their job and it not funneling up, I find hard to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next big thing that we've got here is our inflation deflation of the week, which is Burley Men at Sea. This was developed by Brain and Brain, published by Brain and Brain, and Plug-in Detail, or Digital. Not Detail. Designed by Brooke Condolora. Condolora. Yeah, dude, I need to zoom this in even further. I got my glasses on today. Released in September of 2016. It is an adventure game, indie game, casual game, and you put adventure game again. And it is a reception of 7 out of 10, generally. So it's an interesting title. It has, Ryan and I were talking about this earlier, where it's got these branching storylines that all kind of intermingle, where it starts out with just literally a screen that says Burley Men at Sea, and you control with just the left analog stick to be able to move a cursor. As well as your touchpad on the PS5 if you want to go that route, or the right analog stick to go left or right on the screen to kind of open up the full screen. And I'll throw some pictures on Twitter and such if you haven't seen this game, and of course you could search it up as well on Google. But it kind of starts where you get this bottle and it gets captured by a net, and it's just this narrative story. And honestly, the way it goes is like a children's book. The way it reads, all the dialogue is oh, the Burley Men did the following, and Steady Beard jumped in after, and it's pretty
Steady
cool.
Beard,
Yeah,
Hasty Beard,
and who's the other one?
Bravebeard,
yeah, Bravebeard. Hasty Beard jumping into the Murder Women. But so it does tell a children's type story, and you there's some interaction with different characters within the port that you're at, or the small city port, and you go on your boat and you go into the ocean, you get swallowed by a whale at some point, you meet some nymphs, and then you have a choice. Do you wait by the fire? Do you play with the dangly thing in the back of its throat, to quote Cardi B again? You can jump on your boat, you can mess with barrels. There's various things that you can do that kind of go into other parts of the story, right? One of the things that we did was we talked to a mountain, and the mountain tried to give us flowers, which are basically trees, and then that led us to go back off into the ocean. I think when Ryan was doing his part of a playthrough, it was you went to the seals. You found yourself in the water with some seals and this giant squid monster, basically. And it's super short. It's 15 minutes, at a time. But when you finish each playthrough, there's books that are on the end of the game, and there's room for a ton of them. So there's multiple ways you can play, and the characters know what's occurred. So when we finished, for example, yours, and then went into my thing, when they got swallowed, we're oh, this is familiar. And then nymphs have different dialogue. And then I did the seals again. They're oh, wow, we're back here again. Or oh, what's that green island? It must be some sort of creature. There's different forms of dialogue that jump in as you progress. And it's really interesting, man. So, my overall thoughts were visually, I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I thought it was very simplistic, very easy to just kind of pick up casually and play and enjoy. I mean, you're looking at 15-minute spurts. If you're a dude, or I guess a guy, and your significant other is getting ready for something, you're I have nothing to do for the next 15 minutes, you could literally pick this game up and beat a playthrough in 15 minutes.
Yeah. I think it's a good game for playing with children, just because it is more of a simple story. The text is clearly laid out. It's got fun little audio and music and stuff, but it's also got that same kind of cyclical kids watching the same show over and over and over again, but with slightly different twists. So getting kids to realize how games work and how branching stories kind of work. This could be a really fun game for that. I think it's got the perfect children's storybook aesthetic. It's developed by a husband and wife team. They've made a couple games. I think it's really cute. I've been wanting to touch this for a long time, and I'm glad we had a chance to check it out. I probably won't be coming back to finish all of the different routes, but not every game every week has to be the same kind of game.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And I'm not going to be going back necessarily to play a bunch of routes. I think that I got the gist of it and I enjoyed it. Would I want to continue a story? Yeah, but I think I'd want some sort of guide to tell me like, hey, this is what you got to do the following. Like instead of touching the dangly thing, I forgot what the hell it's called.
Uvula.
The what?
Uvula.
Yeah, uvula. There you go. I'm not in bio. But like, touch the boat instead, or like talk to this person instead. Like, what else can I do? Like, if I had a guide that straight up walked me through that I think that'd be pretty cool just to see all the different stories and
probably take you as long to read the guide as to just try it.
That's true, to be honest. It's that short of a game. So, like I said, control-wise, very simplistic. Audio was good. Visual was good. I liked it. And I think if the price is right, then it makes sense. And let's go into that.
Speaking of the price, you can get this digital-only game through a bunch of different sources at kind of a bunch of different prices. So, first up when I was searching, Steam and Switch both came up. That's $10. Usually it's $10 on PlayStation, but actually it's on sale through the 22nd. So you will actually be able to hear this episode and hear that this game is on sale if you listen to this episode the first or second day that it's out, I think, and take advantage of it, where it is $3.49. You can get it on Apple iOS devices for $4.99 or at the Google Play Store for $2.99. So, Google's definitely going to be the cheapest place to play this. I don't necessarily think that this is something you need on your Switch. If you really want this as a portable game, save yourself a ton of money and just buy it on Google Play.
Here's the beautiful thing is, as we're reviewing this for is it inflated or deflated, there are so many different pricing options that we could go through here. At $10, completely inflated. I don't think it's worth $10 at all. I mean, yes, there's a lot of branching story paths and such, but it doesn't have enough content-wise in each individual playthrough, I feel.
$10 is a reach.
Yeah, it is. I think $5 is a sweet spot for this. But
$5 is like the most I would play for an app game at all usually. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like I think even $2.99 is like that's top price app game for me. Mm-hmm. I guess this, it's got some things that are quality about it. If you're in the right situation where you think you would actually get the time out of this, I wouldn't say don't buy it. But, I mean, for me, if it's more than $1 for this kind of game, I'm just not going to even do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. And it's not necessarily it's not worth it, right? Like, at $3, do I think somebody would enjoy this at $3 and get enough out of it? Yeah, totally. Like, I think, honestly,
do the creators deserve that? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just right. At $2.99, I think... Even at $4.99, I'll stretch. I'll say even at $4.99, like I think you could get enough out of this in like 3 or 4 playthroughs. You're spending about an hour to an hour and a half roughly playing this game. And at $4.99, that's a good time, right? And the fact that it's on your phone, so you can pass it off to your kid if you want to, or play it yourself, doesn't matter. There's a lot of options there with Apple. So I think $4.99 is top dollar for me. I would say based on the variety of pricing that we have here, I would say this is just right. On pricing. For me personally, I wouldn't buy this at that price point, but I think it is worth that for others who may be interested in this type of title. So I don't know. What's your rating on it? You're saying inflated?
Yeah, I got to go with inflated, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. I'll stick with inflated. I mean, for me personally, yeah, it'd be inflated at that price, but others might not find it like that. So, cool. Let's see. Next week, we talked about playing some Metal Hellsinger, right? Got to download the demo and kind of go through that. So, that's what we got next week. But this has been episode 188 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.